John, don't. Johnny.
Faster!
Hey ScreenRanters, hours in the makeup chair, CGI armor, Chris Evans' favorite Captain America suit, Lady Sif's undergarments, and yes, pee breaks. Those are just some of the things we'll be talking about in this video. You see, it's going to be covering a bunch of interesting facts about Marvel actors' superhero suits. Let's get into it. Doctor Who star Karen Gillan has been playing Nebula in the MCU since 2014's Guardians of the Galaxy, and each time she does so, she has to endure 2.5 hours in the makeup chair every day. Moreover, with Nebula being a completely bald character, Gillan was contractually obligated to shave off all of her hair in order to play the role. That is, at least she was initially. When she renewed her contract with Marvel Studios, she ensured that the removal of her beloved red locks wasn't part of the deal. And the creative team have since figured out a way to turn her into Thanos' adoptive daughter without turning her head into a hard-boiled egg. Avatar star Zoe Saldana might have been as blue as Nebula when she appeared in James Cameron's 2009 science fiction blockbuster, but all that blueness was computer-generated, so portraying Gamora in the MCU will have come as something of a shock to her. She had to spend even longer than her on-screen adoptive sister Karen Gillan in the makeup chair as more of Gamora's skin is exposed, so more makeup needs to be applied to a larger portion of her body. Since her first appearance in the MCU in 2014's Guardians of the Galaxy, every day Saldana plays the character, she has to spend no less than 5 hours having green makeup and a few small prosthetic pieces applied.
Really hard to travel to other planets. You never know what you're gonna run into.
Now, Dave Bautista's makeup looks far more complex than Zoe Saldana's, but it actually took around the same amount of time to apply to begin with. 5 hours a day, and the time has actually decreased as the makeup artists became more adept at the application. Bautista has, of course, played Drax since Guardians of the Galaxy in 2014, and his costume is made up of 18 prosthetic pieces. Every day on set, a plastic mold of Bautista's entire body shape is created, which then has an outline for every prosthetic piece drawn on it, which helps 5 makeup artists apply them perfectly positioned to his actual shoulders, torso, arms, and the rest of his body. Since he first appeared as the character in 2011's Captain America: The First Avenger, Chris Evans has worn several different Cap costumes, with his character having had them designed by the likes of the Starks and S.H.I.E.L.D. But when Evans spoke to audiences during a panel at Ace Comic-Con in Chicago in 2018, he revealed which one he'd be comfortable with wearing every day for the rest of his life. And the costume in question is the stealth suit from 2014's Captain America: The Winter Soldier. You may recall it was the navy blue suit with no headpiece that had the stars and stripes emblazoned across the chest, and we have to agree that it looked pretty cool. It's no secret that Hugo Weaving didn't enjoy his time with Marvel Studios. The star of The Matrix played the main villain, the Red Skull, in 2011's Captain America: The First Avenger, and infamously didn't get on well with the studio. But what you might not know is that he was actually asked to reprise the role as the Guardian of the Soul Stone in 2018's Avengers: Infinity War, and one of the reasons he turned down the opportunity was because of his costume. He absolutely despised the process of having his makeup and prosthetics applied. It bored and irritated him, and as a result, The Walking Dead's Ross Marquand took on the role instead, and continued to do so in 2019's Avengers: Endgame as well. In the first Iron Man movie in 2008, Robert Downey Jr. actually wore a full prop armor in a number of scenes. But that suit was very, very uncomfortable, and apparently quite pinchy. So now, whenever you see Iron Man in his armor, it's merely a computer-generated rendering of the iconic red and gold tech, or occasionally a stuntman named Clay in costume. After that first movie, Downey Jr. saw what the special effects team could do with CG versions of the suit, and knowing he didn't actually have to wear it for it to look good, he asked if he could go down a more comfortable route. There's a partial version called the football suit that he wears in a couple of scenes, but it's mainly all CGI. We know what you're wondering. You want to know the answers to all the big questions. So yes, we're going to tell you how Tom Holland pees when he's wearing his Spider-Man suit.
Too much?
Unfortunately, the answer's pretty boring. The suit he's been wearing since 2016's Captain America: Civil War is worth so much money that he simply can't be trusted to wear it to the bathroom. So when nature calls, Holland has to schedule enough time to go through the complex motions of disrobing. In addition to the bathroom revelation, Tom Holland also revealed something even more shocking about this Spider-Man costume: the fact that he wears nothing but a thong underneath it. Let's call it a spider thong. He told Shortlist, "All I have on under that costume is a thong. They brought them in on my first day like, here are your thongs." And besides being terribly uncomfortable for the British actor, Holland explained that wearing only a thong had serious practical repercussions on set. He said, "You can't just walk around in a thong. Can you imagine?" Which means that he had to be very careful when changing in and out of his costume in public. So you know those cool green and black uniforms that were worn by Starforce, the elite Kree military force in 2019's Captain Marvel movie? And you know how they all had a silver star on the chest? Well, we bet you didn't notice that each one of those stars was a totally unique design. That's right, Carol Danvers, or Veers to give her Kree name, Korath, Atlas, Minerva, Bronchar, and Yon-Rogg all had completely different stars emblazoned across their uniforms. They were different shapes and sizes and had different numbers of points on them. You might not have realized this previously, but we promise you'll never not notice it now that you've been told about it. Andy Park, director of visual development for Marvel Studios, spoke to BuzzFeed about Captain Marvel's costume, and he revealed it was designed to be protective and practical, even though it was extremely form-fitting. Park said, although we're always trying to idealize the human form in our designs for both male and female characters, we're always cognizant to be respectful. We never want to be gratuitous. So for every form line, silhouette, and what's going on in the costume, we try to be true to the comic but also respectful. That's undoubtedly for the best, because we imagine the force of nature that is Brie Larson would definitely have had something to say about it if it wasn't respectful. Back to Tom Holland and his Spider-Man costume now, and this entry concerns how he's able to drink water while wearing the suit. Holland has described the process, and it sounds very arduous, but it's best we tell you about it in his own words. He said, "It's an interesting contraption to say the least. Basically, my eyes and my mask click off because they're glass, and obviously the suit is fabric and they need to clip in. But what I can do is take my left one out, and I can put a squeezy tube down into my mouth so I can drink from a bottle." Sounds like a lot of effort, Tom. Chadwick Boseman has been playing T'Challa, the Black Panther, since 2016's Captain America Civil War, and apparently his costume is very hard to put on. It's a tight-fitting latex costume, which initially took 3 people to help him get into, although that number has come down in his subsequent MCU appearances. Not only has he managed to shorten the amount of time it takes into the costume, he now just needs the assistance of 1 person. And in his words, it's a process of trying to pull this, pull that. Boseman also goes on a particularly strict diet to get as lean and streamlined as possible prior to shooting the movies in which he has to wear the costume. Do you ever imagine how Hollywood's biggest stars react when they see the superhero outfits they're going to wear for the first time? Well, in an appearance on Bravo's Inside the Actors studio, Scarlett Johansson explained how she felt when she first saw the tight-fitting Black Widow outfit she'd be wearing in 2010's Iron Man 2. Johansson said she thought, "Look at that thing. I mean, who wants to get into something like that? You just think, oh god, really? Couldn't it have I don't know, some sort of a peplum skirt or something? This thing is there you are." It was also everything it represented. The character was so beloved, she's an iconic character, and I didn't know how people were gonna take it. What the hell was I doing in this franchise? It was daunting. Elizabeth Olsen has played Scarlet Witch in the MCU since the mid-credits scene of 2014's Captain America the Winter Soldier, but she isn't particularly happy with her costume, and she's even explained how she'd change it if given the choice. Olsen told Elle magazine that it would just not be a cleavage corset. "I like corsets, but I'd like it to be higher. Everyone has these things that cover them. Tessa Thompson does, Scarlett does. I would like to cover up a bit." She also expressed relief that her costume isn't as revealing as the source material, saying, "But then you look at where it started in the comic books, and it was a leotard and a headband, so, it's horrible, it's so horrible." Chris Pratt is a lovable rogue. That's a well-known fact. And this particular fact about him absolutely epitomizes that. Prior to the release of the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, Pratt revealed that he stole his Starlord costume from the movie set, for a very cool reason. Pratt said, "I stole the jacket and some of the wardrobe so that if this movie comes out and does what everyone hopes it can, I can follow the example of someone, say like a Russell Wilson, and go visit kids. If it was a big enough movie to where it would mean something to a kid who's sick in the hospital for Peter Quill or Starlord to come visit them, I'll do that. I think that's awesome, man. That would give me real meaning for this movie, you know? How sweet is that?" Moving away from the MCU for a moment, we come to Ryan Reynolds in his role as Deadpool in Fox's X-Men movie universe. Like Chris Pratt, he stole his costume from the movie set. And although it wasn't for as selfless a reason as the Starlord actor, it was still for a very cool reason. A very Ryan Reynolds reason, you might say. Reynolds said, "I loved wearing it and I have run away with one. I'll probably get into trouble for saying that, but I've waited 10 years to do this movie, so I'm leaving with a freaking suit." Of course, he didn't actually use the word freaking, but you get the idea. If you've ever looked at Paul Bettany's Vision costume and thought, "That looks uncomfortable," you'd be right. In fact, it actually hurts him. The super tight material around his head provides a world of pain after its 3.5-hour application and 10 hours on the set. Bettany has described it as both painful and uncomfortable, but being British and being paid a fortune, he doesn't complain. Regarding the discomfort he experiences in costume, the actor said, "You're really having to meditate on the line of actors, thousands of them, who would love to be in your position. You have to concentrate on how lucky you are." That is definitely a good way of looking at that situation. Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange costume is different to other superhero costumes in the sense that it's all clothes. Prior to the release of Doctor Strange in 2016, costume designer Alexandra Byrne said of it, "From the films I've done before, we've got quite a legacy in our fabric store of almost every type of stretch, weave, and fabric, and they're sitting on the top shelf unused, which is very exciting." Interestingly, Doctor Strange's denim coat and pants were inspired by a Chinese jacket that Byrne purchased from a clothing dealer who had brought it back from East Asia. And if you ever wondered why Strange wears 7 belts, costume supervisor Daniel Grave explained, simply because it looks nice. So there you go. We're leaving the MCU again for a moment and going back 14 years as we come to Michael Chiklis and his Thing costume for the 2005 Fantastic Four movie. Believe it or not, it left him needing to talk to a therapist. Chiklis said, "For the first time in my adult life, I faced a challenge that made me think, oh my god, I can't do this. I was saying, I'm too scared, I'm too freaked out. Once they glued the suit on me, I couldn't get it off without help, no matter how hard I struggled. I had 6 people around me all day to take me out of the suit, put an air conditioner on my head, and feed me water. I couldn't eat real food, and I lived on protein drinks during the entire shoot. Going to the bathroom was horrendous. It was a physical and psychological nightmare. Ouch." Idris Elba famously had a very unenjoyable time portraying Heimdall in the MCU, but never more so than in 2014's Thor: The Dark World. Not least because his costume made him feel ridiculous. He described filming one scene as follows: "I'm actually falling down from a spaceship, so they had to put me in a harness in this green screen studio. And in between takes, I was stuck there, fake hair stuck to my head with glue, this freaking helmet, while they reset. And I'm thinking, 24 hours ago, I was Mandela. Then there I was in this stupid harness with this wig and this sword and these contact lenses. It ripped my heart out." And much like Ryan Reynolds earlier in the video, Elba didn't say freaking either. Yikes. Now, it goes without saying that Taika Waititi's performance as Korg in the MCU was mostly motion capture. He certainly isn't wearing an 8-foot-tall rock costume, but tends to wear a cardboard cutout of Korg's head as a hat for scale purposes. But there was something very interesting about Korg's outfit in 2019's Avengers Endgame. We caught up with the Cronin in New Asgard, where he was playing video games in a little house with Thor and Meek, and he was wearing a shirt that MCU fans should be very familiar with. It was the same shirt with pineapples on it that Waititi himself wore at Comic-Con. That's a nice fun little Easter egg if we ever saw one. We haven't seen Jamie Alexander's Lady Sif on the big screen in the MCU since 2014's Thor: The Dark World. But in April of 2019, Alexander tweeted an image that gave fans a unique sneak peek at her popular character. She showed us all of her undergarments. Don't get too excited. They weren't those kind of undergarments. In fact, what Sif wears under her armor is actually very similar to what Black Widow wears as her main outfit. Alexander tweeted, "Ever wonder what goes under Lady Sif's armor?" Which we're pretty sure plenty have, and it's actually a tight-fitting all-black lightweight number. And, well, let's just say it doesn't look all that Asgardian. 2019's Avengers Endgame saw a very different Thor hitting the big screen. After failing to stop Thanos from executing the decimation, Chris Hemsworth's character let himself go, drinking relentlessly and putting on a load of weight in the process. But the extra weight obviously wasn't real, and nor was it CGI. Hemsworth put on a 70-pound fat suit every day of filming. He said it was fun and liberating, but also the hottest he's ever been. To add to his new look, he was also given extra body hair to enhance his new disheveled appearance, including a fake beard, as well as some things to put in his mouth to make his cheeks look more plump than usual. You may think that making the costumes is the longest, most arduous part of the development process when it comes to what Marvel superheroes wear, but it's actually the conceptual process that takes up the most time. Marvel Studios have a whole team of conceptual artists that work very closely with Kevin Feige and his team. They come up with a really strong concept before the designers even start to get to work on the production process. And to put that into some kind of perspective with an example, for 2018's Ant-Man and the Wasp, which to put it mildly hardly had the MCU's most complex or extravagant costumes, that conceptual process took 5 whole months. You're probably wondering what happens to Marvel's superhero costumes once they've been used in a movie, because perish the thought that an A-list actor would ever have to wear the same one twice, right? Well, Marvel does in fact have a secret warehouse where they keep them all. Then they go out to museums and get shown in exhibitions all over the world. They very carefully curate all of the old costumes to give them a use. They've been known to sell them as well. So, if you've got thousands of disposable dollars on your hands, give them a call and be the superhero you've always wanted to be. You know you want to.
Nice work, kid.
And that's the end of our video. Did you enjoy our Marvel actors superhero suit facts? Do you know of any other interesting ones? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to ScreenRant for more great videos like this one. Bye for now!